Tonight, I wanted to take you along on my cozy bedtime routine. So when I started to lose weight earlier this year, I realized how important sleep really is to that equation. If I don't get proper sleep, despite my best attempts at proper exercise and diet, it is much more difficult to lose weight. And these are my observations. One is if I don't get enough sleep, sometimes I don't have the energy to cook good food, to be in the kitchen cooking healthy food and keeping up with an exercise routine. I was finding that I ran out of steam to do cooking and exercise. But not only that, if I am tired, then I have more cravings. My mood is not as good. When I'm moody, I tend to eat more and I tend to make very poor food decisions. Generally speaking, my winding down for the night starts at about 7 p.m. So I usually think of my bedtime routine as being from 7 p.m. until about 10 p.m. That gives me 3 hours. And of course, if you have kids, you're probably wondering, how can I do this when I have much more responsibility than someone without kids? And I would say that as a parent, our main goal is to be a role model for our child, and we can model healthy habits, and that includes getting to bed on time. Maybe your nighttime routine wouldn't start at 7. Maybe it would be dinner done by 7 or 7:30, homework done by about 8 p.m. or 8:30 p.m., so that you have about an hour and a half or 2 hours to unwind, get yourself ready for bed, and get to bed at a decent time. But as for my own personal bedtime routine, it starts at 7 p.m. At 7 p.m., I go ahead and I put my phone on the charger and in the cradle close to my bed, and I just use that as that's an alarm and a clock in the middle of the night. I try to keep it away from my head because I don't want to be tempted to reach for it. So I usually try to, before sleeping, I will push it to the other side of my nightstand so that it's far from me and I can't reach for it in the middle of the night, but I can see it. So I can just glance over and I can see the time if I need to know what time it is. But otherwise, I just keep it out of reach. Maybe there's something that comes to me in the middle of the night, I want to check on it. No, that needs to wait till tomorrow. Cell phones and technology have certainly given us an awful lot of convenience in this day and age, but for a lot of us, if we look back at the 80s and 90s, I don't know about you, but I really just miss the slower pace and the simplicity of the lifestyle that we once enjoyed before cell phones entered the picture. And and honestly, while getting rid of cell phones is completely unrealistic, I think in this day and age, I don't think we can go back to those simpler times, but what we can do is to incorporate things like putting them away before bed so that we can bring back some elements of the peace that we once enjoyed, and especially right before bed so that we can get a good night's sleep and live our best life during the day. So that's the first thing. 7 o'clock p.m., no more phone. I put it on the cradle, I put it on the charger, and it stays there until the morning. So this also means that there's no TV, no laptop, no phone after 7 p.m. And that gives me about a 3-hour break from those blue lights that are emitted from, my devices. And I do believe that avoiding that, I believe it's helped me sleep a lot better. From 7 o'clock to 10 o'clock, I fill that time with activities that are conducive to sleep. So I also do not eat after this time. All of my food consumption would happen before 7 p.m. Honestly, I usually try to make sure I'm not eating anything past 6, but definitely not past 7. So 7 o'clock is the cutoff. No electronics, no food after 7. I don't want to be trying to digest food while I'm sleeping, because I do feel like on nights when I don't eat too late, when I eat a little earlier, I also have a better night's sleep. So that is another non-negotiable for me. So the first thing I do after I put my phone on the charger is I like to go get a nice, long, hot shower. And this just basically makes me feel clean and relaxed. It helps relax my muscles and my back and my shoulders and just really sets the tone for the rest of the night. And after my shower, I feel I can really relax. After my shower, I'll typically go make a cup of herbal tea and I'll relax and I'll have that. It's usually, I don't have any caffeine after, say, about 3 or 4 p.m. usually. So the tea that I drink right before I go to bed is always an herbal tea, a caffeine-free tea. It is usually my chamomile honey vanilla, although I do have some citrusy teas as well. If I have a taste preference for that, sometimes I will switch it up. But I will have at least 1 cup of herbal tea before I go to bed. That would also, at about the same time, I will also, because I'm avoiding electronics, avoiding TV, I will use the time to write in my journal and just reflect back on my day. Especially, I try to note down what went well, what I'm grateful for. I try to stay very positive, generally speaking, whenever I write my journal at night. I like to just think, on the positive end of things, how I am grateful for what has come of my day. And any thoughts that are basically like running around in my mind, sometimes I will just jot them down. It helps. If you're having a particularly stressful day, sometimes it is helpful to kind of do a ranting journal entry, and just get it all out and on paper. And sometimes it helps me to make sense of things. When you've got a bunch of thoughts up in your mind, but you can't, the thoughts can start spinning, but the second that you start to write it down on paper, your thoughts will automatically slow down because you can only write so fast. You can think much faster than you can write. So by doing that practice, sometimes I am able to also bring my mind to a more relaxed state. But generally speaking, by the time I've had my shower and I'm avoiding any news media coverage or anything like that, usually my mind would be pretty calm by this time. And it would just be sort of a reflection back on my day, especially the things from my day that I am very grateful for, because I think that's a really good thing to focus on every single night, because every day you have something to be grateful for. Sometimes if I'm still have energy, I will just read a book until I get tired enough that I fall asleep. Usually like 30 to 45 minutes of reading would make me sleepy. Go to sleep very quickly. I can feel it. When I start to feel that sleepiness set in, then I just put my book aside and I go to sleep. And then, of course, by 10 o'clock p.m. at the latest, it's lights out. All right, speaking of nighttime routines, it is time for me to put my phone on the charger, and I will see you all on the next video. Have a very wonderful night. Bye.